Hello, everybody. Al Berg here, and this is the Doggy Style Podcast, episode 47. I say it as a question mark. It's interesting. Once I start recording, I can't look up the number, but I think it's 47. It is Wednesday, June 13th. Very humid day. I'm going to say it must be about 70 to 80 degrees, but humid. You can feel the humid. And I'm walking down 6th Avenue. Very crowded as usual. You can hear the traffic, the horns, I think. And I just picked up, since it's Wednesday, I picked up my Time Out. In New York City, they give out a magazine called Time Out, New York. And it has a lot of great things in it. I really like it. It gives you a little breakdown of all the things that are going on in New York City. So, cut out a little early today, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and those 2 or 3 minutes can make a difference because I cut it very closely in getting from work to Penn Station. Seems to take about an hour. I've walked this morning already. I'm walking again today. Hopefully I'll reach my goal and lose a little weight for tomorrow, which is the whole purpose of doing this. I do enjoy walking and talking, so I mean, at least that's a benefit I get out of it. So today I was chatting with the intern, and she had never. I had got an intern that works right next to me, and she seems to know Excel, but wasn't even familiar with what a VBA is. And for those of you on the podcast that don't know what it is, VBA is also known as macros and is a programming language hidden in the depths of Excel. So if you have Excel, you actually have VBA. There's a tab called the Developer tab that's hidden. And inside this Developer tab, once you enable it, you can do a lot of stuff. I would say that without VBA, you can only do 20% of the stuff that you could do if you have VBA. It's a really, really powerful tool. And she seemed interested. I was telling her about the idea of, I was just showing her a few things. Some things I showed her was how I have a sheet that has a list of all the other sheets in a workbook, and how pressing a button could easily delete one or many sheets. So she thought that was interesting. Then I also showed her how PowerPoint is generated, and the key things I don't think she understood, which is when you would automate something. And I was stressing how automation has to do with something that's repetitive or boring. And it turns out she took a programming course in R, which is a statistics language. I'm not sure how R works, but she seemed interesting. I don't know if it was fake or real, but she seemed interested in it. And I told her about my idea of developing code, videos in code. So the idea is to have a website of what can Excel do, WCXD, and from that have a bunch of videos that demonstrate its power. So one of the things that came up is the most basic thing you can do with Excel, and that is to, a lot of times you might have a whole spreadsheet with some sort of key in it or a lookup number, and somehow it can get spaces into it. So I was thinking of putting together a small video on how do you write VBA or macro code to get rid of that as an early program. So So one of the things I did today was I was asked some questions about what regulators get my reporting. And I wasn't really aware of it, but it goes to a lot of different regulators. I give it to somebody and then they do something with it and they goes into a big deck and that goes to regulators. There was also a push today to get one of the, I think they're going to try and take something away from me, which I dislike. I know my boss, so I just get that feeling that he's very quick to take stuff away. They hired somebody they didn't need. He's junior. I guess they had a request. I had a requisition for a person, so they hired this guy. And I've decided I'm not going to help him as little as possible. Now, one way, and these are just all the techniques how not to help somebody, and the way you could not help somebody is I noticed somebody was training the intern today, and he was just going very fast. And you could just easily, all I'd have to do is just never ask him, you know, to stop me and just go really fast. And he won't understand what I'm talking about, and that'll be it. So, okay, so time to run a little bit because I just don't want to get stuck on 34th Street, so I'm jogging, gonna bump into somebody. So, oh, excuse me, sorry. Boy, it's really crowded here. I'm right next to Macy's right now. And I have 19 seconds to get across the street. Just trying to zig and zag out of everybody. And now it's 7 seconds to get across. I just stepped in the street at 7. So without running, I would definitely not have made this light. I could ease up. For some reason, 34th Street has a different timing. I'm not sure why. Yeah, so I don't know. It just seems like every time I talk to my boss, he just makes me want to quit. There's just something about it. I have a new project, though I'm sure probably any boss. Something about him in particular that I don't like. I don't know what it is. It'd be interesting to see if I can figure it out. He's just a bad manager. I told him I would take charge of something, and he insisted I do a certain specific thing in a certain specific way. I guess part of it is micromanaging. Feel micromanaged. Oh yeah, stuck in the hole. Okay, so let's see what I have on my yellow list. So I have listed, it would be a good thing today is to just tonight finish my resume. I mean, it can't be just, and I could do it in this would be a good test to do the finish, then add details method to finish the resume and just get something out. So that's my goal for tonight. Or how about, okay, so I'll cut it back. Spend 1 hour, and in that 1 hour, I'd have to finish the resume. Okay. Now I noticed something weird going on. My coworker, I have 2 Russian coworkers, and one of them seemed to disappear in the afternoon today. I really suspect that he has a second job. He's almost said that he did, but I have a feeling it might even be more than that. And it seems like the other coworker, who they talk Russian to each other, kept going into his office And I would almost surmise that she went into his office to move his mouse. We have a system where you can see if somebody's at their computer or not, and the way you can do that is whether they move their mouse. I was thinking of developing a mouse. This is something I should probably build, and that is, it would be a mouse. Would have to have a quiet motor, but it would move. So, and there's probably something that exists already. So it would just move around and keep the screensaver from going on. I wonder if I could do it with code. I might be able to do this with code also. So I don't know if the system knows whether the mouse was clicked or the code generated a mouse move or a mouse click. So that was a little difficult making that light. Had to jump in front of a car. Yeah, so you have a bad button. Now whatever he's doing, I always seem to, like, he always does something, or there's something happens that makes me want to leave. So instead of saying I'm going to leave, I'm going to at least get my resume together and look around a little bit. Now it's a little dangerous to look internally, but I don't know, he might be okay with it. It's dangerous, it's a little dangerous. You could get fired, I think, for doing that. So I just don't like him, and I don't like the other people. I don't like the fact that the whole team is in another state, and that just makes me feel left out. So I don't know, I've been afraid to look. And I said that I didn't want to look in the summer because of the sweatiness, but who knows? So if I'm sweaty, I'm sweaty. I mean, there are strategies you can use. Like, one thing to do is to get to the place you're being interviewed with very early. Get into a Starbucks and cool off there. Do practice for the interview. And then just the short walk from the Starbucks to the job. So now I have something called a stand-up alarm. And the way it worked was, I don't know if this is the best way, it's not, is that whenever I got a request to the website, it would check to see if an alarm expired. Now, I was getting a bot called MJ12. I don't know the whole name of it, but there was some sort of bot that was going to my website way too much, and I just recently blocked it. And it appears that by doing that, my stand-up alarm, I'm not getting enough requests, so the stand-up alarm doesn't seem to be working, or the whole alarm system seems to be not working as well as it could be. And now on my phone, I keep running out of space on this stupid thing, and it looks like I think I have like 25 gigabytes, and it's telling me that there are 13 gigabytes in other. Now it doesn't do me any good because I don't know where the data is being used. So the system could do a much better job. This is an Android phone. To help me figure out what's like in Windows, I could search in the biggest files. On this, it's just a bunch of folders. I'd have to go through every folder to find the file that's using all the space. So next thing I have is the idea of doing what I call a lonely podcast. And that would be the idea. So for people who are lonely, and I was even thinking of trying to meet people on the street, ask them if they're lonely, and find ways or how to overcome it, or to even try and connect them with somebody. So if I talk to a woman, I could connect them with a guy. and do it all for free, just for fun. Another question I was thinking of asking people is, what do you do for excitement? And it's an interesting question. And I asked myself, what do I do for excitement? I don't know. It's a hard one to answer. Maybe, do podcasts. I don't know if that's exciting. Um, do walk in the city, which I enjoy. Wait. Okay, so I did had to give the car the old stop-a-rooney. Yeah, so that would be one question. And just a reminder to myself about my time box. I have a chapter about time boxing, and it has a lot of typos in it. Okay, so let's go to, we'll do the persuasion book now. Really did get warm out here. I'm on 23rd and 7th. And I'm going to go over my persuasion book. See what comes up. One interesting thing I have is in my lists, I have the ability to add a random statement. So it came up with, "You are outgoing." I'm not sure what the other statements are, but I could just easily put different random statements in a list, and the system will pull one of them out randomly and display it to me. Yeah, I'm not walking fast enough to make the lights, but it is hot. Hot and humid. Um, the next one I have is 4 elements of first impression. And believe it or not, I don't recall what I was looking to do with it. But I'll see what I could come up with. So when you have a first impression, you are setting a confirmation bias. So almost everything you do, and not only that, the impression is almost instinctively, intuitively, that this person's subconscious will make an impression of you. And then everything you do, they'll try to confirm it. So if you feel you don't like somebody, most likely they have a negative opinion of you and a negative confirmation bias. And that does happen a lot of times if you inherit a boss as opposed to getting a boss. So one reason to look for a new job when you get a new boss is that they might treat you well, but in my experience, the odds are they won't treat you well. I'd be interested in anybody who's had good or bad experiences with new bosses. So let's see, what other elements are there of first impression? I don't know if I have elements, but if you do want to go out of your way to dress nicely, whatever you can do to make that better impression, you should do. Now, at the same time, you could make a negative impression by trying too hard. So sometimes not trying so hard can help also, that people can pick up your need to make a good first impression. So one of the ways to make a good first impression is to be likable. And I'm going to write a number of chapters. There's even a book called The Like Switch, which I would recommend. There's a lot of techniques to be likable. It's one of my rules in Cialdini's Ass Curl acronym. So I came up with this acronym from Cialdini, who's the father of persuasion, to talk about okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Next one is statistics is boring for persuasion. Just one thing I've read about statistics, if you use 100 people say so-and-so, it's less believable than 127. You know, using a non-round number is more believable. Looks like you did some statistics, but typically using a lot of statistics is not persuasive, because persuasion is more about feelings than about any kind of fact. So you want to get somebody to feel that what you're saying is true. So I'm at Barneys, and they have a big pride banner. And of course, I don't mind. I mean, some of my best friends are gay. I feel like it's been pushed down my throat too much. I mean, you want to have pride, sure. I guess you've been, if you're gay, or that you've been, you know, ridiculed or whatever. But I feel like it's just too much over all day long. Pride, diversity. So I think there should be. I think there is a straight flag. You know, if there's a gay flag, why isn't there a straight flag? Hopefully my gay niece doesn't hear this. Well, still love you. Okay, next one is a long one. I'll read it. It's not going to make sense. I'm going to guess it's from Scott Adams. Oh, it's pretty long. And it says, so I'm just going to give you a filter that interprets everything Trump has done up to this point. The recent stuff through a completely different look, and here's the filter. So it was something about the way, and I believe it was Scott Adams, the way he said that. So he kind of introduced it, and then and it makes you listen, the way he says, and here's the filter. He tells the future, I'm going to give you a filter that interprets everything Trump has done up to this point, the recent stuff through a completely different look, and here's the filter. So he first gets your curiosity up, and then he says, here it is. So it just as a general persuasion technique, you can tell people what you're going to give them, that they might be curious about, and then say, and here it is. And that here it is just seems hypnotic and forceful to point out where you need to listen, and you need to listen closer. Next one I have is Chris Voss, and I believe he's some guy with either the FBI, or he used to do hostage negotiations, and he has a book on not persuasion, on negotiating. So negotiating is definitely a part of persuasion. So I kind of looked at his book. Probably have to look at it again. I would recommend any of these books are useful. And of course, Trump's The Art of the Deal is also probably a useful book. And Scott Adams has written a book called Win Bigly, I think. I don't remember the name. Okay, next one, and again, I apologize that I haven't looked at these, but the next one is a staircase deepener. So when hypnotizing a person, one way to do it is with this technique called a staircase deepener. So basically you tell somebody to relax first, and then they're going down a staircase. Picture yourself going down a staircase, and you're walking down, and as you walk down, you're getting more and more relaxed. And you're going deeper and deeper into a state of relaxation. So that's essentially what it is. I guess what happens is that it shows the staircase represents going downwards, down into this deep state of relaxation. And somehow your brain, I guess, finds it easier to do that. I'm sure I got that from. One category within this book is going to be on hypnotism. I was always interested in hypnotism. I think some of the first books I bought were on hypnotism. And I could see how it works. It just seems like what supposedly hypnotism does is it allows somebody to talk directly to your subconscious to put a message there, like a positive message. Okay, so I'm running now. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. We'll go for it anyway. So it's a little faster this time. Move the fuck out of my way. Somebody just like moved right in front of me. Watch. Hey, thank you. And I made it as my pants are falling down. Okay. Okay, the next one I have is automatic stereotype behavior is prevalent in much of human action because in many cases it is the most efficient form of behaving. In other cases, it is simply is necessary. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll have to look it up and see where I got it from. Next one I have is habits. So in terms of self-persuasion, habits are a great thing because once you create them, there's really very little thought and energy used to do things you want to do. So if you can create habits to do the things you want to do, very powerful technique. So anything you could read on creating habits, and I'll have some information on that for you. I have a link here, so let me see what I possibly wrote about it. So I have habits are shortcuts. So basically, you could think about anything. Throwing a baseball, you have to practice a lot, a certain number of times, and then at some point, your body has a memory for the process, and you don't have to think of throwing a ball. You just will direct yourself to throw the ball, and it gets thrown. So that's what control. There are habits that are below your subconscious that you don't even are aware of. Like when you're walking, for example, as I am now, I don't have to think step in front of, take a step, take a step, take a step. Your body just does it. Talking also. I have a thought, I have something I want to say, it just comes out. And it's all from some sort of habit. Okay, I got another big street to cross, so another run. Nine seconds. Okay, I think I got it. So they're doing some construction, so I don't have to get across the whole thing. Oh, so part of where they're constructing was there was like a little park there, and I used to hang out with my friend, a friend of mine, who would sit there and drink outside. One thing that a friend of mine and I do, and if you want to save some money, something you can do also, is instead of buying an $8 beer at a bar, we would go to like a bodega. This is a bodega on 18th, and then buy like 4 beers and have coffee cups, and we'd pour the beer into the coffee cup and drink the beer out of coffee cup. And it would just be, you just, I don't know, something I felt good. I guess there was some excitement there. I'm not sure, we've never been caught, so I'm not sure what happened. Okay. Habits also is a brain program. So your brain has a program, and I'm using the walk program right now. I'm using the talk program right now. I'm using, even in subconscious, anything in my sight is registering in my subconscious of whether it's danger or safe. So noises will instantly, a certain loud noise will instantly uh, wake me up and pay attention to something. Um, and then you have processes you're not in control of. Just totally your body knows how to do it. Like I'm sweating right now, and that's all to cool down. Okay, so habits are a brain program. It's like programming your brain. So if you want to do things that are hard, so this is a good place where if you're afraid to do something, you probably don't have a habit of it. So things you're not afraid of, you've done a number of times. So to reduce the fear of anything, all you have to do is do it once, do it twice, do it 3 times, and see that there's no risk to it. And at some point, you will become very calm about doing it. Like I feel, unless I talk about it, it's funny. There's a bar called the Woodstock. It's cocktails and pizza, and it's just too bright. Like you want to have a bar, it's got the lights have to be down. So, so you can think of habits as a brain program, programming your brain. So anytime you create a habit, you've put a program in your brain. And to break a habit, and there's a book called The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg that I've read. It's really good. I would recommend that. I'll put a link to that. And habits are controlled by your subconscious. And again, I don't know if any of this is true. This is my belief that your subconscious basically, like even I'm walking upstairs now, how high each stair has been programmed into me. So if you ever walk upstairs and they're not equal or the right standard height, you notice it right away. Yeah, so habits are controlled by your subconscious. Habits also allow multitasking. So I can walk, I can talk, all at the same time. Habits use less energy. So if you think about something you do that's not a habit, you have to use a lot of energy. Whether it's like, say, balancing, hopping on one foot, running and you're not a runner and don't run much, walking far distances when you don't walk a lot, these are not habits. And so for example, I've been walking a lot. Oh, interesting. That looks like the place that I might have mentioned in a previous one is closed. It's called Terror, Terroroi, and there's nobody here. Completely closed down. What happened to this place? Did it close? Did that place close? Yeah. Oh, just for today? But it's usually open? Oh, okay, thanks. So I talked to somebody. I knew they worked here because they were on a bicycle, and they don't allow bicycles up here. It's one of those three-wheelers. So it uses less energy. So if you have a habit of, like, for example, if I'm walking the same place, I've seen all of these things. Very little things are attracting my attention. But if I'm in a new place and I really don't know what to expect, it's not a habit. So you're on a more heightened awareness. So you do use more energy. So, for example, talking to a stranger is more energy than talking to a friend usually. You don't know how they're going to react. And there's also good and bad habits. So you could probably very easily, let me see if I could come up with some of my bad habits. And you want to eliminate the bad habits. And you really want to eliminate the very bad habits. And I also, like, so a good habit that I have is weighing myself every day. Um, Another one is adjusting. Another is walking. I walk. Again, it's not that hard for me anymore. Leaving at the same time every day, setting the alarm at night. I mean, I have a lot of decent habits. Let's see, in terms of bad ones, I would say the too many is a bad habit. um, and there's probably habits I have that I'm not even aware of. Um, I guess saying one day I'll try to do a whole podcast without saying or so or any of the filler words that I use. And if I do it, it'd be interesting if you could shock yourself, or you had a device. That would be actually not a bad idea, that you get a shock, but I'd probably be very conscientious about it. I don't know if it would work, kind of a negative reinforcement. So bad habits. I guess a bad habit I have is eating too many protein bars. I had 2 today. A lot of days I'll have a lot. So today my diet is not great. I do eat too many protein bars. Um, I haven't eaten a lot of vegetables. It would be nice to have a vegetarian habit and see how that goes in terms of health. I guess another bad habit is I like to spend a lot of time on my computer, and probably should spend less time um, on it. There's probably other things to do than be on a computer. Very risk safe environment. Another habit is I don't finish. I have trouble finishing things. Like, even these podcasts are starting to pile up and it's becoming a little overwhelming. I keep saying, so what I'm going to do is, I think the easier way to do this is to load up the podcast, listen to it, and then write comments in my to-do list system, put links in there where I need it, and then paste the information into the YouTube video as part of the description. And if I could automate some of the things, it would be even nicer. So habits are hard to break and hard to create. And Charles Duhigg talks about a trigger. There's usually some trigger that starts the habit, and then you do the habit, and then I forget the whole process of it. But it seems like you can't really eliminate habits. You have to substitute. So, for example, if you go to the candy machine at work, which I was doing for a while, but I stopped doing that. If you go to the candy machine at work, um, you might be doing it because you're bored, or maybe you could substitute it with go talk to somebody instead. So they're hard to break, hard to create. The way to create habit is through repetition, and there's been a lot of people saying it takes 21 days. I think it varies. So one thing I was doing was standing up every day at work, and that kind of has fallen the wayside because my alarm isn't ringing, and it wasn't really a habit. I was kind of relying on that. And the other issue is my computer, that I locked it down. So the fact that it's locked makes it much harder. It makes it much harder to pick it up and walk over to the cabinets. And then there's habits versus addictions. So it seems like if you're addicted to something, there'll be like coffee. I'm addicted to coffee. If I don't have coffee, I'll get a headache. So there's some effects. I guess some drugs have very bad withdrawal. I guess the addiction has withdrawal, but habits don't. So if you don't do a habit, there's no withdrawal. I don't know of anything else, um, but that's some more thing for study. Okay, so and then I have the last one I have here is persuasion isn't a habit, but you need to start noticing your attempts and other attempts and others' attempts and track them. So if you persuade either yourself or somebody else, notice the attempts you do and how it results. Or one of the best ways I would say is look at who persuades you. Look what makes you feel good, and try to replicate those things with other people. Like, so when somebody says a phrase that I think is useful, I'll write it down. I add it to my persuasion list, and that's how I build up. And so I'm going to say that one of the most important ways to learn persuasion is look at who's persuading you. Like if you look at a tweet or a Facebook post, did you click it and why? Save that information. Save that. Was it something about the font? Was it something about the vagueness of it? Curiosity. Did somebody use curiosity? Did somebody use social proof? So first it pays to learn the Cialdini persuasion techniques, the basics, which I said before is the acronym ASK-CURL. And I'll just quickly tell you, A is for authority, S is for social proof, S is for scarcity, C is for commitment and consistency, U is for unity or family, R is for reciprocity, and L is for liking. So those are the most. If you haven't read Cialdini's book, Persuasion, get it. Great book. And his other book, Persuasion, also great book. So these are recommended reading. I'll try to get as much out of it as I can, but it does help to have these books. They're based on studies. Mine is just based on my own whatever persuades me. Okay, I'm doing good today. So it's 5:40. I feel like I have plenty of time to make the 6:01 train. And that was it for okay. So I went back, and of course it refreshes it. The back button. I refreshed, and I have to have a new list of shuffled. So again, I think it's a pretty cool feature to have a list of 2,300 items and it gets shuffled. And again, I use that to prompt myself. I don't have a great memory. I'm not good at talking off the cuff, but I'm practicing. And one of the reasons I do this podcast is to help with my public speaking. So one of the things that would be useful is I'm using a certain microphone now, to always use that microphone when I'm talking. And that way I would be comfortable. Matter of fact, I could practice some podcasts standing up. Right now I'm walking, so it's a walking podcast. I'm kind of multitasking, walking, and I'm on the High Line, so it's pretty beautiful here. One downside to what I do, as I run around somebody, is that I'm in a rush, I'm talking, I'm not paying that much attention to what I'm doing. And I guess the next step is to find somebody that wants to do this with me, and we can have a talk, and I can, if they'd want to, I could record that as a podcast. We could talk about different subjects. So I like that idea. So I'd have to find somebody who works where I do in my office and would want to. It's a cute little girl here. It's very cute. Enjoy, they grow up very quickly. You won't believe how quickly. Enjoy. Hi, sweetie. Very cute girl. Um, okay, so the first one I have is presentation is critical. How you present things. And I'm not that good at it, at this, but this is something you do need to, I need to focus on how you present an idea, a problem. Um, it's critical. And there are a couple techniques that Scott Adams talks about, and you want to see good presenters and try to learn from what they do, because like most things, I think this is really learnable. I don't think anybody's born with these skills, but one thing I'm sure, if you practice something, you'll get good at it, whatever it is. If you're a lousy public speaker, join Toastmasters, you'll get better. And I've been delaying, I have Toastmasters at work, and I've been delaying joining it. I'm not sure why. So I have presentation is critical. So in terms of like a website, for example, what your website looks like, somebody comes to your website and right away there's a judgment. Good, bad, terrible, cheap. So it's something I could work on a little bit. I don't have the best website. Very text oriented. I have to spend some time. I've been a little lazy about it, but I just said how important it is. So I really do need to figure out, excuse me, sorry. I do need to figure out how to do a better website, more professional looking, more enticing, more getting people to say, wow, that's pretty cool. It doesn't have to be cool, it just has to look professional. Okay, so next one I have a list of terms. Delighted, pleased, thrilled. Not you won't regret it. So it's funny, I don't know where I got this one, but if you say you'll be delighted, you'll be thrilled, you'll be pleased, you'll be thrilled, you'll be delighted, you don't want to say you won't regret it. Because in that statement just there is I said you're going to regret it. You won't, even though the won't, people here regret it. And so that's a very negative thing to say. Matter of fact, I believe that if you hear somebody say those words, they mean they're lying. So another part, ah, shit. Ah, damn it. Fuck. We're running across the street again. I feel like my bag's opening. Whew. Whew. I'm pooped. A lot of running. Let me see if my bag, very sweaty. And my bag is not open. Whew. Okay. Yeah, so I like that one. I don't know where I got that one from, but you won't regret it. It's such a bad thing to say. Right away, it focuses you on the regret. What are you going to regret about it? Now, I'm not sure how to memorize this stuff, but I do like that one. So I'm gonna. Yeah, it's very hard for me to do this. It would be nice if I could easily click it, and it just updated it quickly. So next one, it's possible that ... but we can't ... Let me see if I could put some more text into that. It's possible that, I'm not sure what goes in that one, but we can't. If I like that. It's possible that, yeah, I can't even think of a place to use this. I'm not sure if I like the we can't. It's possible that there's a bug in our software, but we can't find it. That doesn't work. So I don't necessarily like that. It was item 592. By the way, the other one, delighted please, was item 1880, and I will, when I go over this, I'll highlight it. Okay. Everyone believes that. There's a very cold breeze coming out of some air conditioning vent. Wow. Oh, that feels so good. Whew. That was good. I don't know why it's so much cold air being wasted in a way. Might just be the room temperature air coming out. Everyone believes that Trump is an asshole. So by saying that everyone believes that, it invokes the social proof. So anytime you say everyone uses this software, everyone looks out for their family, everyone. So anytime you can use everyone, you are invoking social proof. So good strategy, according to Cialdini. Next one I have is templates. So a template is basically like a cookie cutter contract, something to follow. One of the things I doing for safety, by the way, is I have a headset, has 2 earpieces and a microphone, and I really don't need the earpiece. I'm not hearing anything. I guess I could hear something and then say something, which would be interesting to try something like that. But I just realized if I keep the earpiece off of my ear, it's much safer. I could hear if cars are coming. So I'm passing something called Learning Annex. It used to be a company called the Learning Annex, and they seem to close down. I used to have courses. I don't know what happened to them. And I wanted to teach a course at the Learning Annex, but unfortunately they don't exist anymore. So I don't know, maybe there's a business opportunity there that people want to learn in person. So now I'm not sure why this is here. Seems like it's more like a key principle for success than a persuasion, but I'll read it. And I need to listen to these because my reading style isn't great. There are a lot of audio books, and they do something. I'm not sure what it is to read. I'm not sure if it's the inflection or the deep voice or what exactly it is. But I would like to, I will, spend more time listening to voiceovers and seeing what they do. So here, a template is something that helps you create a picture. Say you want to draw a star. This could be hard, but you can buy a template that allows you to draw a perfect star just by drawing inside a piece of plastic. So I'm describing the plastic template for a star, how it can give you a perfect star. You should do the same with your persuasion. So what is persuasion? Start collecting persuasive templates. Anytime you click or buy something, there was a persuasive message that gets you to take action. Or give up your money and trade for something you want, or I guess don't want. Look for these and record them in your persuasion diary or blog. And I only have one thing listed I have here. Habit Stacking: 127 Small Changes to Improve Your Health, Wealth, and Happiness. So I thought that was a good one. That's a book by a guy named Scott something Scott, and he was on the James Altucher podcast. So to get on a popular podcast, that's a real win. You do need visitors. You got to get followers. You got to get your stuff out there. So whether I ever get there, who knows? But I'm just working on it. Okay, so the next thing. Okay, so 5:53, I could see Madison Square Garden. I'm getting really close. And for some reason, my back is refreshing. I press the back button, and instead of just going back, it's doing a refresh, which I don't like. I wanted to use the shuffled list. Okay, so next one, and I think I've mentioned this one, and persuasion is PowerPoint. I actually spoke about this morning, so I'm going to skip it now, just to say that to have good PowerPoint skills, and I do have a book that I will go through. I'm going to add it to my important to read. I do find that as a problem. I have so many books, and which one to read? It's very difficult. And I'll just end on the last one, which is called a handshake induction, which seems like you could hypnotize somebody just with a handshake. There's a magician that has a really good YouTube channel, and his name escapes me for the second. I'll add it to the notes. And he does this handshake induction where he hypnotizes people just by shaking their hand. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. This is Al Berg signing off from the Doggy Style Podcast.